Hello, and today I'm going to show you how to make a 2D Minecraft game in Scratch. So, I've drawn the assets already for the game. As you can see, every single one of these blocks is exactly 16 by 16 pixels wide. So, the number 16 here is going to be very important, as when we're changing the size of the camera, well, we've got to change it by 16 or a bigger multiplication of that if we set the size to something higher, which we'll definitely be doing as that's far too small. So let's set the size to 225 and we'll work out the tile size by multiplying let's set the tile size to 2.25, and the size is going to be the tile size times 100, which is going to be 225. But the true size will be 16 times 2.25. So yeah, we'll create another variable called true tile size, and we'll set it to 16 times, let's rename the original one. So right click on tile size, rename variable, and say multiplication, tile size multiplication value, and we'll multiply 16 by tile size multiplication value to get the true tile size. And now you can see that that's working. It's going back to its proper size, and now we are going to begin creating the game. So we're going to set the X position to as far down the left, and so the bottom left corner of, so just spam in any sort of large number you can, and we can now see that the X position, the minimum X position is minus 243, and the minimum Y position is minus 183. Okay, so now we're going to start work on the camera. So hide these variables, delete that one, as it really is not one we care about. So we're going to create a custom block called initiate camera. And it's going to be, there's going to be inputs to it. Let's say the inputs will be the camera width. Okay, start X, start Y, start Y. This will be one of our screen. We first make sure you click that, that's very important. And then it's camera start X. No, camera width. And then camera height. If you have not watched the easy tutorials, you may not know how to make blocks appear on the screen so they all fit in a grid equally, but in theory, if you're trying to do this and you don't know how to do that, you probably shouldn't be watching this, as this is quite difficult in comparison to the easy tutorial. And now, well, just for those that are watching for that reason, I'll explain it. So, we're going to first use a repeat block, and we're going to change the Y position by the true tile size, which we calculated earlier. And as you can see, that's now going to in theory, allow each part of the block, if we stamp it, to be shown correctly. And we'll go to the camera, so we'll set the X position to camera width and the camera height, and instead of using those variables, instead of going to it there, we'll put it into start X and start Y, and hopefully it's going to appear that nothing is overlapping, and I believe that it's working. However, it seems that it's starting in a strange place. Let's see. Yes, erase all here. Oh, I see what happened. On variables. There. Working as intended. So let's see how high we can go. So up to 10 to fill up the grid. And now we're going to add in X positions, and we're going to have to change it by tile size again, as that will allow it to fill up the grid. But the reason why we're going to now see this thing happening is because we forgot to set the Y back to the start Y underneath that. And as you can see, we've now got a sort of grid of camera tiles. They're not overlapping, as you can see, they're all perfectly laid out, but we don't have enough of them. So we're going to add another to the Y position, and we're going to add another, let's say, not enough. Is that too much? There. That seems to be working. Okay. Now we're going to replace the stamp block with the create clone block and remove the erase all block. And as you can see, that's now working. Now I need to remind you that if you haven't drawn it at 16 by 16, you do need to make sure you change this variable here to whatever it says here. And this part here may possibly be different for you, but it's probably easier if you just stick with 16 by 16. Then in future tutorials, if you forget you've not done it, you're not going to face running into issues and all that. Also, I chose 16 by 16 as that's the size of Minecraft's actual textures, so yeah. Okay, so when we start as a clone, we're going to forever switch to an air block for now. Actually, it's forever switch to bedrock, which I don't have, but let's just keep it as earth now. So, now we're going to make it so the tiles can appear off screen. This is going to be important as when we're scrolling, the tiles will, because Scratch has a limit to how far you can go, as you saw earlier. If you type in a humongous number in here, it's going to set it back to here and you can still see it on screen. If you're scrolling, tiles are going to have to go further than that to, let's say, there, so it appears that they're scrolling smoothly and there's not going to be any white gaps or blocks overlapping each other. So, to do this, we're going to make a new costume and just make it the size of the entire stage. Okay, so now we're going to Now we've done that, we're going to make variables for the start X and Y positions. Well, clone X and Y positions, because in order for it to store it without resetting, you're going to have to use your own variables, and then you'll display these blocks to the player, but when moving positions you're going to be using this, and costumes that are big typically have much higher ranges. See, it's going to 755, whereas if we're switching to another costume, it does stick at 755, but if you enter a new value or update it yourself, it's going to switch back to 243 and appear on screen. So, let's just rename that big. So let's now create variables. I'm going to call them clone X. That's going to be this way only. That allows each clone to have individual values and not be affected by the others. If it's for all sprites, it means each clone would be able to share the value between them, and that would cause nothing to appear on screen apart from one big blob of one particular block. Okay, so now we're going to set the start, or the clone X and the clone Y to the start X and the start Y, and we're going to replace all of the other movement variables with those variables. So we're going to change clone X by true tile size, and we're going to set Y to start Y, clone Y. Okay, and we'll move that go-to block into there, and we're going to set the clone X and clone Y. We're going to go to the clone X and the clone Y, but before we do that we're going to switch to the big costume, and then we're going to switch to the normal stone block, let's say. That will allow us to see whether it's overlapping or not, and that's something that does happen, so make sure to set the size back to well, did we set a variable for that? No, let's just put that there. But as you can see, that's slightly glitched, so there's a big costume there. That's what I can find. So now if we set the start X to, in order to make the white bars not appear ever, we're going to set the start X to one block less than it currently is. So we're going to subtract one tile from minus 243. That's minus 279. And the same again to minus 183. That is minus 219. Yeah, I think that might... Okay, what went wrong here? Hiding there, but it's showing there. Okay, that's doing exactly what I wanted it to. The reason why that's happened is because with Moo, it's the same size grid, we've just shifted it down. So we're going to add two more, so we have the same amount going that way as the other way. So it's going to be 16 by 13, because we're going to add one to match the previous width and height, and then add another one to do what we did there to this side. And it looks like it did before. The only time you're going to notice this is when we start adding scrolling and things like that. Okay, so now we're going to create a list called world. So each clone is going to, well, have a clone ID. This is going to be for this sprite only, and this is going to tell each clone what, well, their place in the world is. We're going to set clone ID to 0 here, and we're going to change it by 1 here. Above, create a clone myself. And if we add 2 to world, we just double check what things are. Well, if you just do that enough times, we should see stone starting to appear in theory. Okay, what's happened? Oh dear, okay. There's a big spider appearing. Say all okay. Okay, I know what that's happened. Let's make sure after we move we switch back to air. And as you can see now, blocks being added whenever we're adding stuff to the world. So let's delete everything that's in this world and add 10. And as you can see, it's now adding stuff. So this is basically the camera done for now, but we're going to also have to amend it later once we start adding world heights, because we're going to have to offset the clone ID by the world height. So we're going to do that later. We're going to, for now though, just add the camera width into this variable and the camera height into this part here. Well, so we're moving it over to there, so it's going to do the same thing as normal. But now let's start work on the generation system. Okay, so we're going to create a custom block. We're going to call it initiate world list, and we're going to have inputs to it again. So height, no, width, then height, then we're going to have, no, we don't really need much else apart from that. Then make sure, this is even more important than last time, that you click Run Without Screen Refresh, as otherwise you're going to be waiting an eternity for everything to generate. Okay, so now we're going to add delete all of world to the beginning of that, and we're going to have and add that block there and have the width as 1000 and the height as 128. So we're going to repeat width times, repeat height times, add 2 to what? Add, let's say, some random number to the world. Let's say 1 to 3. Or maybe 1 to 5. Not 1 to 53. Okay, that seems to be working. Although you can't see it, this is currently sort of broken. We need to make it so. I'll now explain why this is sort of broken now, and the reason why things don't work like this in tile scrolling. Tile scrolling works by storing this grid in a list. To do this, well, to convert the grid into this list, we have to check whether we're above a certain amount, and if we're above that, it means we've gone to the right. So the list would be from 1 to 16 here, but as you can see, we go up 4 every time we go to the right. So if we go up, as it will make it so the list has gone up by, well, 1. Every item here is now 1 more than it was before, and that item there is now an item that was there before as well. The list only goes up so much. Let's go up again. As you can see, it's now starting on 3, 7, 11, and 15. If we go down, it does that. But how would we make it go right? So you see it goes from 1 to 4, but then it starts on 5. So does that mean we have to that means we have to change the number of items in this list by 4. Because 5 minus 1 would be 4, and that would give you exactly that row there on the first row. As you can see, that's identical, well, to this row. It goes 5, 6, 7, 8, and that also goes 5, 6, 7, 8. We go right again, that row that was there before is now going to be this row, and then it'll be that row, and then the final row would be there right at the beginning, and we'll start back over when we go to 16. That's how we're going to, so in order to detect which one of these is in a world, we're going to look at what item of the list we're at. Well, okay, now we're back. I'm going to show you how to solve it. So we're going to change clone ID by the world height minus the camera height. So we're going to create a new variable. We're going to call it camera height camera width world height and world width. We're going to set these when we press the green flag, and make sure you do all of them. So we're going to set the world height to what we set it to there, 1000. No, 128. Then the world width is 1000. Then the camera is 16. Then width is, no, that's the wrong way around, 13 and 16. Okay, so add the variables into here. Wrong way around. And there. Okay, so we're going to set the, so we're going to subtract the world height from the camera height we inputted, and we'll change clone ID by that. And it's going to look the same for now, but it's working this time. So now we're going to begin work on the actual terrain generation. Okay, so we're going to make a new variable. We're going to call it counter. I'm going to set it to 0 here, and we're going to change it by 1 here. And we're going to repeat until counter is equal to 128. This is, or just the height of the world. So when counter is equal to height, we'll stop. And in theory that should stay the same. Yep, but now if we add a random amount of anything to the world, let's say 2, it's not going to break the way everything looks. Okay, why is it? Have we done something wrong? Should be starting that variable there. Well, not that position there, not over there. Okay, let's see. No, it can't be that way now. Have we set the world height variables correctly? Yep, that's the correct value there. What happens if we add 1 to the clone ID? What about 1,000? Yep, that's working as intended. But, oh, okay, I'm seeing that pattern of disaster. Okay, what's gone wrong? Wait. Oh dear. It's not the world height it's not the world width you're going for, it's the world height. That hopefully should, wait. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's now actually working. And as you can see, every time we add in a multiple of 128, we're moving to the right, as expected. And when we just add in any old value, we're going up. Okay. So, now we're going to make it so that this is going to be generating a lot higher than it currently is. So we're going to check if we're going to make a new variable, we're going to call it stone height. This is just going to be used to see when the stone is at a certain height. If it is, we're going to make sure that never gets above that height. But if it's below a certain height, it's going to make sure it doesn't go below that. So we're going to start by making sure it's generating it smoothly. So we're going to change stone height by -1 to 1. And if stone height is more than 90, it's going to set stone height to 90. But if it's less than, let's say, 60, not equal to, if it's less than 60, it's going to set it to 60. So put stone height in both of those and add it to there, and then we're going to have the stone height variable in that instead. Make sure the counter's in there as well. As we expect, it's generating the weld all the way up there. So if we go up to 60, let's see if it's down there. or yeah, there's well, generating nice and smoothly. Okay, so now we're going to add blocks 3 and 4 on top of that, and we should see some dirt and stone appearing. Yep, we are there. Okay. Well, now we're going to add in scrolling. No, not yet. We need to make sure we set stone height to a point in between those 2 points. That's, actually best if we do it so it's pick random 60 to 90. Okay, we're going to make the dart look a bit nicer later. Well, now we're going to make a variable called scroll x and scroll y. So we're going to do some code. We're going to change scroll x by 1 every time we go right, if that's right. I think that's probably the right way around. Might be, might not be, but we'll see. Okay, so make sure that's scroll Y there. Put that below that. And now we're going to, well, make a new variable, this Y only, and we're going to call it my clone position x. Make sure it's this Y only, as I said, I think. And another one called clone position Y, for the same reasons for this Y only. Okay, so now we're going to add those variables in before we set the position. Well, no. Actually, we're going to not use those variables for that. We're going to create more variables, and we're going to create clone grid position, clone this position. Okay, so I'm going to set clone this position here to a value. So we're going to divide scroll x by the true tile size. As we're here, we're going to be going for in the grid. We're going to be the grid is basically 48 times smaller if you're changing by one block to the next block, then scratch sort of stage. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to times the value we get out of it by the world height, as we said earlier. World height represents going right. Then we're going to divide scroll Y by the true tile size. And hopefully this works. Yep, first you will want to add clone ID to that as well. And okay, that hopefully should be working. Nope, not yet. It's going to have we're going to have to first add that value into there. Yeah, that's why only. Yeah, the reason why it's doing all that is because we're not properly setting things up yet. And as you can see, we're now, when we're going left and right, which is actually up and down at the moment because we did this wrong. What have we done? Oh, I think I know why that's happening. Okay, we're going to have to make sure we floor that value before we multiply it. So, yeah, we're going to change it by 20 and minus 20. And we'll just do the same for y. And that's working. And as you can see, it's very, very choppy. Wait, is it not doing it evenly? Well, let's just do it for now and see if that's broken. We'll fix it later. So we'll find the modulus of scroll x and the tile size. What's true tile size? And we'll add clone x to that. It might be added, might be take away. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I believe that it's kind of working, but it is broken. Let's just get down to the stone and see whether that's smooth. No, it's the wrong way around. That might still be the wrong way around for the multiplication, but no, that seems to be working. Please save. Well, we'll come back to that. Okay. Clone y minus, well, the modulus of scroll y and tile size should hopefully fix the remaining issues. Let's see, is that okay? Maybe we need to make sure we put in the clone position y there, and as you can see, that's now scrolling smoothly. And I think some values do somewhat cause issues here, go out of sync, but for now let's just make sure that we're changing by, let's say, 16. That's a nice number for this thing to handle. And yeah, that's working. That's good. Okay, we'll set the scroll Y at first. Let's make sure let's set it to 0 and find where we actually are, if that is indeed the bottom of where we are in the world, or if it's sort of tweaking slightly. Yep, it's legitimately around 206, let's say it's 2770. That's too high. Let's set it to 2670 maybe. Ooh, okay, yeah, that's scroll wide, not camera height. Let's make that a little bit lower still. Bit too low. Or not. Well, we'll see. Okay. That appears to be working. Okay, so now we're going to add maybe placing and breaking blocks, but, well, no, let's not do that today, yet, actually. First we're going to sort out dirt, so we're going to make a new variable, call it dirt height. Let's make it this way only, not for, it's not desperate though, it's just a bit neater. So we're going to set it to, let's say, pick random 2 to 3, and we're going to take it away from stone height. Okay. Then we're going to add a repeat block. There, and then put in dirt height. Okay, yeah, that's working. Good. Okay. Let's now add placing and breaking blocks. This is not going to be the final version of this. This is just going to be an early sort of thing. So let's check if we're pressing F. Okay, so then we're going to replace item list position of world with 1. Then we're going, when V is pressed, we're going to replace it with 3, let's say. Yeah, let's make sure we're checking whether we're touching the mouse pointer. And as you can see, that's now working. Let's change that to 2. Not for any particular reason, but it's a bit like instead of replacing stone. As you can see, we're now able to place and break blocks. So, now, you're probably wondering what's going to be coming up in future episodes of this tutorial. The previous series I've not known properly how to make entities for this game, and after the 3rd episode, that's what I probably normally would want to do, because at this point you should be using the entity system to make the player as well. But I have not known properly how to do that for ever really properly. I did it once, but it was practically out of sheer luck that I managed to get the solution. And trust me, it would have made for a terrible video. So I did try to make the tutorial, but well, I had to scrap the previous series. But well, that doesn't matter now, as now I know how to do it, and I can show you how to make a 2D Minecraft game with a player and pigs and zombies and all of that sort of thing in Scratch. So, I think that can conclude today's tutorial. Hope it's been okay. Bye.